Hi, and welcome to my new playlist, GERD Treatment Checklist. My idea with this new video series is that this will be literally a checklist for you to work through before you think about starting medication for your reflux or your GERD. I hate to say it, but GERD treatments are subpar, if I'm being polite. Prilosec, Nexium, PPIs in general are hot garbage, and I would prefer that nobody ever have to take them. The more like Zantac style ones and Tums aren't great either. They're not quite as bad as PPIs. But my hope is that making these videos will help people prevent the need for those drugs. So let's get into it. Let's get into two of the big pieces of GERD, and then as we go forward in the future, we'll have more videos and talk about more pieces of the puzzle. So first and foremost, you might have read that GERD is because you have too much stomach acid. You might have also read that that's a load of baloney and that you actually have too little stomach acid. And how do you figure out the two? Where do you go from here? So here's my 2 cents on stomach acid. I think that having genuinely too much stomach acid, actually too much, like the actual level compared to other humans being more, I think is relatively rare. You could have too much stomach acid for you, which is a little different, and I'll mention that again in a minute, so hang on. But I think across the board, humans have about the same amount of acid, from what it seems. I think that too little stomach acid is a more real problem because we're taking Tums and God. I remember my doctor told me when I was a vegetarian, when I was a teenager, that I should take calcium, and the thing that I took was Tums. Just like every day I had a Tums or that was a calcium supplement to me. That is just a terrible idea. So I was chronically suppressing my stomach acid. So people do that still to this day. I have patients who come in and say that that's their calcium supplement. I think in general, the life that we lead and the way our lives are structured tends to be conducive to having low stomach acid. So I do think that is a more real problem. The easy way to figure out if that is a problem for you is to try taking beta HCl supplements, start at a low dose and work your way up and see if you notice a difference. Just be aware that not everybody feels a difference and an improvement in digestion from like a pill. You might need to take several at a time. There's a test out there that people say keep taking more and more until you feel a burn and then back off by 1 capsule. I don't know if you need to go quite that high, but you can fiddle with that. I have mixed emotions about that test and the validity of it, but that is something that's worked for a lot of people and you could try that. So that is the too low stomach acid camp. Going hand in hand with that, which again I think is more common, is eating smaller meals has been shown to be helpful for GERD. And I think the reason is the low stomach acid thing. If you imagine, a normal human has 100% capacity for digestion. And if you have low stomach acid, maybe you're at 60% capacity. And then you eat a large or normal sized meal, you simply don't have enough of the digestive juices in this circumstance to digest your food adequately. So one of the ways that you can minimize that burden on yourself and give your body a chance to really digest is by eating smaller meals. Now, for the purposes of IBS and especially SIBO, I'm actually not a big fan of the eating 6 small meals a day thing, despite what my bachelor's in exercise science told me at the time when I did my coursework in that. I'm not a big fan of that. I could do a separate video later if there's interest, but I think eating just a little bit less in general, and particularly less protein at meals, can really help minimize the grief that you get from having low stomach acid. Ultimately, the solution for those people is to also increase your stomach acid. So there's a 2-pronged approach. Circling back though, just a quick note before I wrap up on the high stomach acid thing. I think as we talk in videos, I'm going to discuss this more, but I think some people can have too high of stomach acid for the individual person. in the sense that if the stomach acid was there and everything else about their GI tract was normal, they would be fine. But a lot of people don't have enough of the protective mucus lining in their stomach to actually protect their organs from the acid. And in that case, if you have, half of the mucus lining that you're supposed to have, then all of a sudden your normal amount of acid seems like too much acid. And truthfully, it is too much acid for you in that time. The solution is not to suppress your stomach acid. The stomach acid isn't the problem. The problem is that you don't have a mucus lining and you need to build that back up. And that's where we'll pick up in the next video, is working on that mucus lining and some of the things that can be helpful for that. And we'll talk about more dietary strategies and more lifestyle strategies too. But for right now, your action steps for this video are to just eat smaller meals, particularly with a little bit less protein, and to play around with taking a betaine HCl supplement and see if that is helpful for you. If those two things help you, then you probably do have low stomach acid and you would benefit from supplementing with HCl at least for a while.